Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast for two long-distance friends bouncing media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm all the way from Norwegia.
And this week, we celebrate our 200th episode with a 5-course Cinderella bonanza. Before the clock strikes midnight and we devolve into various meats and pumpkins, remember you can help us on Mortified, the Legitimacy Quest, by smashing that like and subscribe on YouTube, leaving us a review on iTunes, or just telling a friend about the show. Leyla.
Aaron.
Happy 200 episodes! Yay!
Woo! Happy 200.
Yeah, it's, loyal listeners will know we slowed our pace down in 2023/2024, so it's taking us a little bit longer than you might have expected to get to 200, but, that's podcast keeps going. We're doing it still.
Podcast, this is a much more sustainable pace for two adults with things to do, and not two adults who, remember this thing started because we were desperate for friendship during COVID lockdown, and we've just kind of never stopped.
Yeah. And why should we?
Despite the
fact that we've tried to keep it a more sustainable pace, we have watched 10 movies in the space of 4 episodes. Actually more than that, because we did our Hugh Jackman special, and then we did Wicked, and then we did another 5 not movies, media properties for this 200th episode. We'll try not to do that in the future, but just the stars aligned, and we had to do some psychic damage to ourselves this last week in a big way.
Yeah, that's very true. But I did look back at my Letterboxd for the year, and most of the movies that I watch are for this podcast. So if not for Mortified, I don't know if I would watch movies.
Oh, same. It's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a good vehicle to make us exposed to art. Now, whether or not that art is good, completely different question, but it is useful. So yes. That's great. Why are we celebrating our 200th episode with 5 different takes on Cinderella?
Well, because last time we did a special that wasn't a Scorpio season like this, or one of the last times, famously, I can't keep anything straight. I forgot we did a Wicked episode while recording the other Wicked episode. It's whatever. We did a smorgasbord of Disney sequels, and that went so well for us that while we were brainstorming ideas for this, I said, oh my God, there's so many Cinderellas. Let's do Cinderellas. And boy, howdy did we. We
did. We were going to also do a 2019 Brazilian DJ Cinderella. We decided to switch that out for the 1950 original Disney animated Cinderella because I got through the first 8 minutes of that, and the English dub was so terrible that I immediately messaged Leyla. I was like, please don't make me do this. I'm already reading about Olivia Nuzzi and RFK Jr. Please don't make me do this.
We've had it. Yeah, I think it's important context. Because sometimes we listen to this podcast, we podcast through history a lot, and sometimes we listen to this show like a historical artifact. I think it is important for future us to remember that present day us are recording this at the same week as we read a lot of Olivia Nuzzi content and listened to an interview, and also just generally headlines have been doing psychic damage to us. And Aaron got some very interesting documentation at his the real people job that we don't talk about.
Yeah. We're doing it. We are the future historians will thank us for not only documenting our thoughts on the media of the time of the day, but also the history happening around us. So shout outs to David Attenborough III or whatever. You're welcome for all of this. But yeah, let's talk about, so we're covering 5 different types of Cinderella. I already mentioned the 1950 original animated one. We're also covering the 1977 Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella featuring Brandy. We're covering
97, not 77.
Sorry, I cannot read. We're covering the 2004 Cinderella story featuring Hilary Duff. The 2015 Cinderella featuring Lily James. I'm doing so good so far. And the 2021 Bad Cinderella by Andrew Lloyd Weber. We're going to save that one for last. But yeah, Leyla, broadly, what do you think of the Cinderella fairy tale archetype story?
I think when it is, I think, well, first of all, I feel like Cinderella is the blandest, not blandest, but it's like the most straightforward of the Disney fairy tales. There's a girl, she's a magical fairy godmother, she goes to the ball, meets prince, falls in love. There's not a lot of meat on those bones, so you can add a lot of different spices of your own when you adapt it. And I think the ones I liked the best of what we watched were still the straightforward Cinderella myth, but just had like a nice, sweet message of empowerment for little girls. They didn't try to do too much, they didn't put too much stank on it. Just a lovely little fairy tale.
Do you think that the message of empowerment is important to the Cinderella story?
To make it work narratively? Probably not, no, but to make a movie for children, yeah.
Sure, but not all of these things we watched were necessarily for children.
Well, Jesus Christ, yeah, I really hope not.
I'm just, we're
One
going to talk about...
One of them in particular, I really hope not.
One of them in particular we'll get to. Should we do the short summaries? I think we should probably try to do a 3-sentence or less summary of each. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to do, it's my turn to do longer summaries, so I'm happy to do 3 of 5, including the bad one, mm-hmm. In every sense of the word. So 1950 Cinderella. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, we can do a general summary of the Cinderella myth, and then our 3 sentences can be dedicated to what makes that one unique.
Oh, that's a better way to do it. Yeah. I think the Cinderella myth is girl gets mistreated by stepfamily. Girl has a great time with a prince, but he doesn't know it's her. Girl is found out by prince / some sort of power structure and is elevated to a position of status, meanwhile, her wicked stepfamily is summarily punished for their persecution of her.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a fairy godmother involved usually in some kind of way.
That's true. I completely missed that critical part, but it's fine. Yeah, so I think the 1951... The main thing that the 1951 does differently from all of these other ones is it features really heavily animal shenanigans in a big way. About 40 minutes of that is just cat and mouse, Tom and Jerry shit.
I put it in open shot. It is actually about 20 minutes of the 75.
That's really funny.
I literally went through and I just like found the places where it was oops, all mouse comedy, and I just took it out. The movie shrank by 20 minutes, and the credits on these things are long too, so like there's only really 50-ish minutes of Cinderella happening.
Yeah. Do you think that makes it better than some of the other adaptations we see? I mean, what is... So you actually, we should explain to the listeners because they're not looking at our notes. You have, in classic Mortified fashion, done some charting and data research. Do you want to explain your Cinderellements graphs?
I do love a chart. So Aaron has described it's mostly what you've kind of given in your summary, but I went through and I said, okay, what do I notice that each Cinderella adaptation has a take on? Like, I don't know if it's I should have, but I didn't read the classic Cinderella myth. My vague memory of the original fairy tale is that in order to fit into the glass slipper, there were some toes cut off. I can't remember, though. Pretty gnarly.
That makes sense to me. It's Into the Woods. That happens in Into the Woods, so I assume that's true.
Maybe that's where I'm getting it from. I don't know. Don't yell at us in our email. Or maybe do. We don't get any emails. But so I said, my first qualification was, is Cinderella kind of sassy? Because the thing I noticed was that all of the Cinderellas, other than Lily James, had like a little bite to them. They were just like a little sassy. I also was noticing that, are they offered agency by the fairy godmother, or is the fairy godmother doing all the heavy lifting here? Is she kind of a victim of circumstance, or is she actually like working towards her dream in some kind of way? Does she have friends? And then I made a note of, is the friend a human or an animal? Is the evil stepmother having fun? That's a very important qualifier. I think it's one of the best roles you could have is to play the evil stepmother. Are the stepsisters having fun? And I'm happy to report that this is the only place that in all the movies, yes, they were. Each and everything we watched. Best place to be, stepsister. The fairy godmother, is she goofy or is she competent? We saw both. The prince, what's his deal? Ken doll, is he idealized or is he flawed? Is the meet cute at the ball or before the ball? And there's usually in all but one of the things that we watched, some kind of Grand Duke, Vizier, assistant type role. Are they helpful or unhelpful? So those are the things that I kind of noted while I was finishing the last thing that I watched, which I saved Brandy Cinderella for last as a treat.
As you should have. I think we'll get to our rankings, but I don't think it's going to be a surprise which one we put at number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you break down kind of the elements and what differentiates these properties pretty accurately, right? You've got all of the archetypes, you've got all the ingredients laid out. And, you know, if we're talking about the 1951, you know, the stepsisters are a bunch of goofs. The evil stepmother is pretty wicked. Like, I in particular think of the dress tearing up scene as like pretty, you know, gruesome in my memory is after having seen that movie for the first time in like probably 25 years. And, you know, it still holds up. It's pretty scary. They're very mean. But yeah, like another thing that you have to remember for this is that my most recent exposure to this particular adaptation is, of course, in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, where, you know, the trio of people go and one of them has a magical dance. I think it's Terra. I think Terra dances with Cinderella. I think Aqua also gets some sort of like romantic, like she gets... she might meet the prince, and then Ventus, the little baby boy, just ends up having fucking mouse shenanigans, which is very funny. But yeah, like I think this is pretty much achieving what it wants to. I'm looking at the Wikipedia to see like as far as like what this movie's, you know, success was, and its budget was $2 million, and its box office was $182 million. In 1950. So like this was catastrophically successful at the time, like absurdly successful. So like they crushed it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the 1951 besides like, you know, I thought it was broadly fine. I think it is like the standard.
Yeah, it's completely fine. It's sweet. Cinderella's pretty. I like the birds and the meese. I think a little too much density of meese for me. But, you know,
you don't like the zuck-zucks? You don't like all that?
I would like 10 less minutes of it. It's fine, broadly. I do think it is bananas that, so the reason that Cinderella's dress gets torn up is because the Mies steal, and the sisters, Anastasia and Griselda's sash and beads, and they recognize the sash and beads, and that is why they start tearing at the dress. And then conversely, when the wicked stepmother locks Cinderella away in her attic, it is the Mies that then get the key from her pocket and haul it up not only stairs, but also up the tower stairs to the attic. I think it is bananas to have them be like that much of a story crux. But
that's true. And you talk about agency in your thing, and yeah, Cinderella 1950 is just kind of the person to whom the mices do good things to. They're like, she's kind of their charity case, which is hilarious.
Yeah. She you know, wants to go be with the prince. She sees the prince as her like method of escape from her life, which she talks about how boring and redundant she finds it. And when the sisters are ringing the bell to summon her, she, you know, it does the, oh my God, yeah, I'm coming out of their earshot and whatever. She talks back to the wicked stepmother every once in a while, or tries to justify some mishap that happened. But when she gets locked in that tower, she gets locked in that tower. She's got to wait for the Mies.
Yeah, and the Mies thankfully come through. Shoutouts to Gus. Shoutouts to Jack, the homies. It's such a, I like that adaptation. I think it is my number 3, but
Yeah, very middling.
yeah, I do think there's like some little touches of brilliance. Like there's a bit where the stepmother, like when she has Cinderella locked in and the mice are trying to rescue her, rescue her from the room. They have to like get into the stepmother's pocket and retrieve the key. And there's this bit where the stepmother reaches into her pocket, and I know that they're doing that to like give the mice a moment of tension, but like the action that she's doing it is she's like kind of nervously stroking it because she's talking about how she's talking to like one of the royal guards or whatever, and she's like, oh yeah, there's nobody else here. And like I kind of like that as a subconscious, like, oh, I've got to grab that thing that I'm trying to hold on to, that power over the secret that we're looking for. I just kind of like that action. It's like a little subtle moment, but yeah, I mean, pretty good. This is something I would show to my kids. Throw it on for 70 minutes. I think another thing that you kind of have to shout out is that this one's 70 minutes long, and I think that there's plenty of movies in the year of our Lord 2025 that could stand to be 70 minutes long.
Absolutely. I want to. My thing to shout out, I think, in this adaptation is very prolific Disney artist of the time, Mary Blair. Her fingerprints are all over this. Just beautiful graphic painted backgrounds. I think the credits might be her work too. Like just some gorgeous, very stylized moments of artwork here that I think were the highlight for me in an otherwise kind of slow, very straightforward children's movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to talk about the Brandy version, the 1997 version?
Yes. So what makes this adaptation different is it is 90s completely colorblind casting. We got Whoopi Goldberg as the queen. We got a man whose name I forget all the time, but he looks like discount Richard Gere to me.
Well, we've seen him before. Do you know what movie we've seen him in before?
No, what was he in?
A little movie called Legally Blonde, because his name is Victor Garber, and he's the evil professor in that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. I was like, I've seen that motherfucker before, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh yeah, I know you!
See, when I picture Legally Blonde, I picture like Reese Witherspoon in one corner of my mind, and then in the other, it's the cast of the Broadway show.
Oh, no.
Because I just like that adaptation a little better than the movie, unfortunately.
That movie also features somebody who will come up here in a little bit.
Exciting. Mm-hmm. We got Pablo Montalban, I think his name is, as a Filipino actor as the prince. Brandy, who's black, as the Cinderella. Whitney Houston, who is also black, is the fairy godmother. One of the stepsisters is also black, which I found very fun because, hey, if oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. Wicked stepmother.
Oh
my god.
Bernadette Peters. You have Bernadette Peters as a stepmother who is white. And then you have one of the stepsisters is white. If both of the stepsisters were white, there would be like a layer of racism inherent in this story that I think would have been bad. One of the stepsisters is black. And so it was just completely colorblind. The townspeople are also of every race. And and it's also made for TV, which means it's made on a TV budget. And you pointed out it's shot almost like a sitcom in some parts. Like it's shot like a TV show. It's just adorable, I think. How did you feel about it? Because I think you at least enjoyed it. I think this is my number one. This was great. Can I be a little vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
So I've recently in our group chat been excoriated for not knowing about singers. I have been
okay. Before you go on with your big pleading puppy eyes, he is talking about Reba and Dolly Parton, but please continue.
I know who Dolly Parton is. I just didn't know that she was specifically Hannah Montana's grandmother.
Godmother, okay, go on.
That's what I meant to say. I knew that Whitney Houston was, a talented, incredible singer. Yeah. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I hadn't really heard any Whitney Houston singing like for real until this movie, and I was like, hey, Whitney Houston turns out pretty darn good singer, like kind of a phenomenally good singer. Has anybody heard about this?
I also didn't know who Brandy was.
No, I didn't.
Can you describe to me in detail the rock that you lived under in the early 2000s?
What do you mean? I listened to a lot of NPR as a kid. Okay, I don't know what you want. I didn't have the country music and the whatever was played on the radio in the years 2000 to 2008. I
didn't see a commercial for Reba.
No, we didn't have cable. We didn't have cable until like 2006, and by that point, I was mostly just watching Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot.
But that hopefully is why. Anyway, Whitney Houston's a really good singer, and I think actually she's too good of a singer to be in this. I think she kind of blows everybody else out of the water.
I'm going to be extremely kind in this moment. I'm going to choose love in the holidays, and I'm just going to say I'm so glad you discovered Whitney through this movie.
Listen, it's the Christmas season, and sometimes the best gift you can give to someone is the gift of learning about an extremely famous vocal performer.
And I'm going to do you an even bigger favor. I am not going to excoriate you in the group chat for mistaking Whitney Houston for Amy Winehouse. I'm going to let people listen. We're going to see who listens to our podcast of our friends.
I'll leave this in, yeah. And if any of our friends blow my shit up, we'll know they're real ones. Okay, great, good to know. Anyway, I mean, I thought this was great. I thought this was the best adaptation, like by a country mile. There is just something about the colorblind casting in particular, and if you read on the Wikipedia about how they like fought to get Brandy to be cast as Cinderella, and there's this whole push about like people were still like worried about having two black leads in this, but eventually Jewel, I believe.
Jewel was the one they were gonna cast instead of Brandy if they because the network was debating like was it appropriate to have a black Cinderella, but Whitney Houston, per your notes, said that like that's the point, is to have a black Cinderella because every generation should have their own Cinderella. Right.
And it is notable, right? This is the only black Cinderella we get out of all of these adaptations, and I think that's I think that's worth something. I think it is. We talk often about how like the conservative wave in the early 2000s like really hurt America's culture and psyche in a big way, but like I think it is really disappointing to be like in 1997 we had all this colorblind casting, and there's certainly problems with doing colorblind casting, right? There is a way that that doing a multicultural or multi racial cast can erase certain identities, certainly. But I think, I don't know, right? In 2025, I think I would rather have 100 more of these with every just like we're gonna get one of every single racial category in here, than what we have currently, which is people freaking the fuck out because Ariel's black, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm looking at Paolo. If I called him Pablo mistakenly earlier, I'm sorry, Paolo Montalban, a Filipino actor, right? Which like usually, if we see Asian representation, is usually a person of Japanese or Korean descent nowadays. But like seeing a Filipino actor is great on screen. And everyone looks great. Everyone looks like they're having fun. The performances. You made a note that the music was pretty bland, and I agree. Like, it's just not the most exciting soundtrack.
And I have that gripe with Rodgers and Hammerstein's work, almost generally, right? I think their best work is like The Sound of Music, and I think The King and I don't know. I haven't listened to King and I in a while. I think it's...
Me either.
Yeah. But
it's just one of those things where the performance is so earnest, and like Brandy is bringing such like a beautiful... I think of all the Cinderellas, Brandy was cast the best because she's got that kind of like doe-eyed... Yes. Innocence, and she's glowing and smiling. She's got that little bit of edge to her, just a tiny bit, when she, might roll her eyes at Bernadette Peters or something, or talk back or make a face or whatever. But I think she's incredible. But just watching these performances that are so earnest, Whoopi Goldberg delivers her entire performance in squeaks. It's just fun. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, everybody's having a good time. Jason Alexander of Seinfeld fame is in here, and he's just playing the king's, oafish little, manservant, and he's just having a great time sweating, and he's doing this like the worst Italian accent I've ever heard in my life.
Is that what that's supposed to be?
I don't know what it's supposed to be, right? But I think it is some sort of accent that is very funny and played for laughs, and it's a good time. There's no part of it that I think is missing the point of the Cinderella myth. It's everybody's just kind of it's colorful and bright, and everyone's enjoying themselves, and they're bought in. Nobody doesn't know what kind of production they're in.
Exactly. And to go through the kind of like Cinderellements matrix for this movie specifically, we got, again, Randy has that little teeny tiny bit of sass to her. She is offered agency by the fairy godmother, because the entire point of fairy godmother's song, Impossible, is to tell her that, like, yeah, you should dream, but you should also seize the opportunity. I'm giving you the opportunity to seize the dream. You have, like, it's up to you now. She does not have friends in this one, which I found interesting, but that might just have been a budget thing. Evil stepmother, Bernadette Peters, fucking eating. Evil, malicious, having fun. Stepsisters are evil, but not out of malice, out of ignorance. The fairy godmother, as Whitney Houston, competent. The prince is an idealized person, whereas in the 1950s he was kind of a Ken doll. He's kind of there to be loved, which is fine. The meet cute happens before the ball, and the Grand Duke, that's Jason Alexander, is helpful and kind of in a goofy way. Which there was also a goofy and helpful Grand Duke in the 1950s one. To me, one of my favorite parts of the movie that isn't the like big romantic stuff that I think works really well in this one is after the ball, Brandy kind of sings with the stepsisters and the stepmother, and I forget what the song is called, but basically she's like describing her evening to them, but pretending like she's making it up. And in the first half of the song, Bernadette Peters and the stepsisters get caught up in it and start singing with her. And it's just such a cute, nice moment. And Bernadette Peters only turns when she recognizes Cinderella as she bows. But it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Did you have anything that like stood out to you?
I mean, I think I already just talked about how Whitney Houston's, singing is just like kind of too good. I don't know. Brandy's great, obviously, but I think that Whitney Houston just puts on a clinic, right? She goes to town on like the couple of songs that she's in.
Brandy's like a very airy pop singer.
Right. Yeah. And nobody here is giving a bad performance, but it's just Whitney Houston is just on such another level. It's hard to compare. One thing I did want to point out was that like this is a very 90s TV in its computer generated imagery. There's a lot of like sparkles and spirals when Whitney Houston's doing her magic, and it made me like really nostalgic for that era of like I'm especially thinking of like CD-ROM, like edutainment games, because I feel like that animation was pretty common. And I don't know, maybe that's nostalgia, right? That doesn't make anything like inherently good. But again, I think it's just really charming, right? It's quaint is maybe like a pejorative, but I don't mean it in a condescending way. I like how simple but also like whimsical it is.
Right. No, I love it. I think the weakest part of every single movie that we've watched has been the transformation sequence, or like the mice turning into the horses and the pumpkins and shit. Right. This movie does not waste any fucking time with it. It doesn't put any sauce on it. It says, here's the graphics that we got. Here's what we could do. Sparkles. Love it. Eat. Work. The most horrifying transformation I've ever seen was a movie we didn't watch, which is the Amazon one, where like... Have you ever seen the clip?
No.
Oh, James Corden's head gets stuck on like a tiny mouse body. It's horrifying. It not good. I think the less sauce you put into it, because there's just no way to make it look good, the better.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that all these adaptations are trying to stick to those same touchstones, like turning the mice into coachman, and that everybody is kind of running up against the same stumbling blocks does speak to a sort of like shared lineage of storytelling and like crafts people trying to overcome the same hurdles. It's sort of like, when you're running a show and everybody knows like, oh, there's this one number in the show that is a fucking nightmare to do. I can't think of anything in particular, but I guess I'm thinking of like the masquerade sequence.
Every song in Bad Cinderella.
We'll get there. But I just think that there's some like, if you're trying to do an adaptation, it is kind of nice to be like there are these moments that you have to have, and you struggle to do them because they require a level of suspension of disbelief or technical prowess that is not necessarily always readily available for your adaptation.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad you like this movie because it is my favorite, and I'm just happy that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really good. This project was worth it just for being able to see this one. So I'm pretty pleased. But however, I was also pretty pleased by the 2004 Hilary Duff Cinderella story.
I was so, again, thrilled that you liked that one because that was the one I was kind of nervous about. But like Jennifer Coolidge.
I mean, Jennifer Coolidge is great, right? Hilary Duff looks like a fucking baby. I didn't realize, because,
they all look like babies.
Yeah, they're all like Chad Michael Murray, like probably like 17 years old in here, but like, yeah, it is, when Hilary Duff was famous, she was she was like several years older than me. She was probably like 6 or 7 years older than me when she got really big. But so I was very young at the time. But looking back, being like, oh, this was like a very young girl doing some pretty good work. I don't know much of her stuff besides is she in Lizzie McGuire?
She is Lizzie McGuire, yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. Besides Lizzie McGuire, besides her holiday album, which my sister listened to incessantly, I'm not super familiar with her work, but like here she's having a good time. She's doing, she's playing this like put upon teen who is struggling. As far as like adaptation differences go, this is set in the modern day. It's set in California. It's a lot about high school, right? It's set in high school, right? I noted that this comes out in 2004, which is the same year that Mean Girls comes out in. So they are kind of doing that same like high school is divided into the jocks and the nerds, and never the twain shall meet. There's the meet cute that's different here is that she met Chad Michael Murray on a Princeton University like chat room, a thing that definitely existed in 2004, I guess. But like that's
why not?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't realize that colleges were doing chat rooms where potential students could come and talk about how they want to go to that school so bad.
Or maybe someone just started one and they found it on a fucking NeoCities page. Like I've never questioned the plausibility of the Princeton chat room.
Listen, I don't care about the plausibility. I just think it's funny to be like, there's a specific Princeton University chat room.
Right.
But like, they're texting with T9, which I don't know if those of you in the audience are young enough to not know what T9 is, but it's where you had to press the button on your phone multiple times to cycle through the letters because you only had 0 through 9 and not the whole keyboard. Or this is way before smartphones, but yeah, I think it's so charming. I love the adaptation. I love the choices they make. I love the like supporting cast, right? Because she's not like a scullery maid necessarily. She works at her dead dad's diner as as like a waitress basically. That's her servitude in this one, and like the cast of this one like backing her up and being her friends. I really like everybody who is at the diner supporting her. I like her shitty little nerd friend who hooks up with the cheerleader that one time and then ends up with the goth girl who does the announcements. He's great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I also love this movie. I think I watched it contemporaneously, and first of all, I love this movie because we got a Goo Goo Dolls song and Chad Michael Murray, and those are both Buffalo icons. Shout out Buffalo, New York, where I grew up, so Buffalo mentioned. But it's just like, it's a fun movie. The stakes are appropriate. The drama is very high school. The stepsisters are having a fantastic time. They're always color coordinated. Jennifer Coolidge is just chewing the fucking scenery as the wicked stepmother. And like, I like that she had a friend, right? Because usually it's the mice. But now she has that little guy who dressed up as a rapper for a scene. That was crazy. You could not make this movie today.
Yeah, he calls himself, he's like, this is my Snoop Drizzle outfit. And I was like, oh, is it going to be one of these movies? Thankfully, he does not continue that for the whole thing. I think his name is Dan Bird, I think, who plays Carter.
Carter, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in this one. Like, I think you get more of the high school movie here than you get the Cinderella story necessarily. There's a whole bit, you point out in your notes that it's crazy that Chad Michael Murray's ex-girlfriend gets to host a pep rally where she just fully bullies Hilary Duff in front of the entire school for 40 minutes. Chad's dad is there. He's like, what is this happening, son? Why is this? I'm interpreting the skit that your ex-girlfriend's putting on, and it's giving out some weird vibes, son. Don't you want to work at this car dealership?
Well, Chad's dad is also on the field with the football coach during Chad's football game, which is crazy.
Insane. Sure.
I feel like there's a lot more depth to Austin Ames, which is Chad Michael Murray's Prince character, right? He's the popular jock guy, and we get to see him struggle. He gets to deliver the "I'm not giving up on my dream, Dad. I'm giving up on yours" banger.
Mm-hmm.
That fueled many a teen drama. But I think the sweetest part, Carter, the friend, this movie is about Hilary Duff. I think the most agency of a Cinderella happens here. Where Hilary Duff playing Sam Montgomery, she goes and chews out Austin Ames at the end of the movie because basically he found out who she was and then he couldn't bring himself to reach out to her, and she just kind of ended up being a social pariah. But she went up to him and was like, I believe in myself, and that's good enough for me. I don't care what other people think, which I think is a great message for a teen movie. And then as she leaves the locker room, because she yelled at him in the boys' locker room, which was bananas, what's his face? I keep wanting to call him Colton because the Sabres goalie, Colton Ellis. His name is not Colton, it's Carter. Carter finds her in the hallway and is like, Rhonda, who is the fairy godmother archetype in this movie, told me where you might be. I thought you might need a friend. What a sweet sentiment.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me because I was worried they were going to try to get him with her the entire movie, and that's just not what he's into. He is just truly her friend, and that as somebody who has been platonic friends with many women throughout high school and college, that's kind of the listen, a humble brag. I'm an #ally, but that is something that I think is really important. If we're talking about a message of empowerment for young women, and a message of empowerment for young men is maybe, don't try to fuck every woman you meet, and maybe just try to be friends. And this eventually gives way to the horrific 2007 to 2010 grimdark era is unfortunate, but I think this movie is really, really fun. I'm trying to think of anything else. Obviously, Jennifer Coolidge is hilarious. She is always spending a lot of money on things what's the line? You know how much it costs to import all these Norwegian salmon all the way from Norwegia?
It's she wants the Norwegian salmon, and then Hilary Duff says only the best, and she goes, as she's chewing, she's like, I can tell. It costs a fortune to fly in all this stuff from Norwegia.
Mm-hmm. Really funny.
It's just really good.
Coolidge is really great at this. Another thing we didn't point out, but there's always a tension about how Cinderella comes under the power of the stepmother. In the first one, in the 1951, she's just her parents are never really talked about. They're just oh, she got her dad got married and then he died.
Right.
In the 97 one, same thing. Here, her dad is killed in an earthquake.
I'm pretty sure it's an actual historical earthquake.
It is a famous, yes, it is the 1994 Northridge earthquake, January 17th, 1994, a magnitude 6.7 earthquake. 57 people died and more than 9,000 were injured. Among the costliest disasters in U.S. history. So that's crazy.
Yeah, interesting. This is a choice. This is very funny. It's a charming, straightforward teen movie. It doesn't put too much sauce. Like, again, it just does what it needs to do and it gets out. Also, shout outs, again, fairy godmother Rhonda, who like works at the diner. Incredible performance. She like takes Sam in at the end of the movie, and she's just always really supportive. And it's not by magic that she, comes into the like ball gown and stuff. But it's Rhonda just like has a beautiful dress laying around, and it's a really nice bonding moment for them. There is because we went through all the Cinderellements, there is a kind of Grand Duke character in Austin Ames' friend. He does try to assault Shelby. And that is just glazed over because it's the 2000s.
Yeah, I do remember this. Yeah, this movie, I was gonna shout out the fact that like they talk about sex in this movie in a major way, which I think is interesting for a Disney product. But yeah, that does happen, which is fucked up.
Yeah, and that's when Carter has to.
He does Zorro shit.
Yeah, Carter does Zorro shit. get Shelby away from him. But that was a very artifact of the times to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you want to talk about the 2015 one, which really does, talking between this 2004 one and this 2015 one, I think really does highlight the changes that happened culturally in Disney, certainly over the last 11 years.
The 2015 Cinderella almost beat for beat follows the 1950 cartoon. The changes that are made, other than the fact that it's live action, is that Cinderella and the prince do meet before the ball. The prince, who is the same actor as Robb Stark in Game of Thrones, except they shaved him, so I did not recognize him. They meet on horseback when Cinderella is like, she rage quit her family for a second and needed some air, and he was on a hunt. That was nice. And then they do expand quite a bit on the backstory of the parents in this one. We see the mother, we see the father. The other thing I noticed was that Lily James is the least sassy of the Cinderellas. She is just straight up kind of like good and pure and naive, which I thought was a really interesting thing to change for this adaptation. And then there's the Vizier, Stellan Skarsgård. I love to see Stellan Skarsgård just fucking hamming it up. He's the Vizier, and he is supposed to be kind of evil. Like, he's supposed to have promised the prince in marriage to a Spanish princess. That never really pays off or gets mentioned in any kind of way, so he's pretty ineffective if he is evil.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I found it kind of boring, unfortunately. But I thought I thought everybody was turning in pretty good performances. I thought that the outfits were really, really stellar. They were really pretty.
Beautiful.
Everything was visually very striking. It just didn't do a whole lot for me.
It was a well-crafted, straightforward, live-action adaptation of Cinderella. I liked the sets. I liked the outfits, just like you. I think I'm just in a sentimental mood, so it did like do something for me in terms of enjoyment. But would I say it was like, am I ordering the Blu-ray? No, but if someone put it on, like, yeah, it's just a nice movie.
Yeah, it's completely fine.
Directed by Kenneth Branagh, a quasi-friend of the show.
Of Murder on the Orient Express fame, I believe.
He is so hit or miss, it's like almost fascinating.
I mean, listen, I get it. Sometimes you put your all into a creative project and it's just a whiff, and you know what? That's all right, man. Same.
He does better, I think, with more theatrical things. Like, he's a theater director, I think, by trade. He does a lot of theater stuff.
I think he did like a really famous adaptation of Hamlet.
Yes. I think when he does more like cinematic stuff, he kind of isn't, his work is not as strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's time.
So, friends of the pod will know about me and Leyla's long-standing beef with British playwright Andrew Lloyd Webber. despite the fact that he did write my favorite musical of all time, which is The Phantom of the Opera, which, you know, pedestrian choice. We don't have to talk about it here.
Good show.
It's a good show. It's a good show. In 2021, despite the fact that he was struggling to, you know, during COVID, right, many of the theaters closed, and I think Phantom or maybe Cats had just been taken off of Broadway or the West End or whatever, I don't know. But Andrew got it in his little head that he needed to make another musical, despite the fact that if I had made Phantom of the Opera and Cats, you would never see me in public again. This podcast will be gone. Me and Leyla would just we would just talk to each other in our gold-plated bubbles. We'd fly on our jets and do our podcast. You wouldn't see me in public. You wouldn't see me doing fucking shit if I had Andrew Lloyd Webber money. And yet, Andrew Lloyd Webber, who does have Andrew Lloyd Webber money, decided to make another musical, an adaptation of Cinderella, titled, roughly, it's technically Cinderella, but especially on Broadway.
Yeah.
On Broadway in
it's
particular.
Cinderella on the
America,
West End.
Right.
Yeah.
In London, it's Cinderella. In America, it's Bad Cinderella. And I'm sure I will link the video that me and Leyla actually introduced this to me because they linked a video of a YouTuber talking about this plot of this a couple of years ago. And I found it fascinating, if disturbing. And there's some choices here, but like, yeah, this is this the worst musical I've ever seen?
It's up there.
Now, to be fair, we watched this on a YouTube slime tutorial. We got bad angles, so that's not entirely the production's fault. In fact, I think both me and Leyla will agree. The production that we saw on YouTube, pretty good. I think everybody is going 100%. Nobody's turning in a bad performance. Nobody's phoning it in. I think the person who plays Cinderella here, named
Carrie Hope Fletcher.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. The Prince Ivano Turco putting in much more effort than I think this show deserves. But yeah, it's basically like, what if Cinderella lived in a town where everybody was super fucking sexy and got plastic surgery except for her. And then she was childhood friends with the prince, and he had to get married, and they were both secretly in love with each other, but they never communicated it. And then she gets plastic surgery. No, she gets.
I wish. That would have been a choice.
Yeah, in a show notable for its lack of choices. She gets a makeover, let's say, from the fairy godmother, who is a plastic surgeon. Don't worry about it. And then the prince rebuffs her because she looks like all the other girls. And so she goes and runs away. But then the prince's brother shows back up and he announces that he's gay. And then the prince doesn't have to get married anymore. So he goes to hang out with Cinderella and everything's better. Is that roughly what happens in that musical?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's about it. Try to think. You missed the wicked stepmother and the queen used to work in a brothel, and the wicked stepmother blackmails the evil queen. That's a song. Yeah, which sure. I mean, they have a great performance. I think this is Rebecca Treherne and Victoria Hamilton Barrett, who put in a great performance. They are having a lot of fun. They are hamming it the fuck up. I struggle. It is difficult for me to plumb the depths of my experience. And I'm not a savant, but I've seen probably 40, maybe 50, shows or listened to soundtracks, right? It's not extensive, but I got a solid base. I've never heard lyrics as dog shit as this.
It's fucking bad. You go to the YouTube comments and they're like, wow, it looks like the performers, it sounds like the performers are writing the lyrics on the spot because they are atonal. They do not follow a consistent rhyme scheme. They are often just fucking stupid. I'm going to find some of them.
So long, my freaky friend, bad Cinderella, who everyone avoids, like salmonella.
That was the one. That was what I was looking for. What the fuck? What are we doing here? You wrote Phantom of the Opera! What are you... Even Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, while simple, its lyrics works for what it's doing. What the hell happened?
Hard as a diamond trapped in a coal mine. I'm just a girl who is buried alive. I have a temper. I can't control mine. Am I unbreakable? Will I survive?
At least that one rhymes. It's fucking stupid, but it rhymes.
It rhymes mine with mine.
Okay, there is a lot of rhyming the same word with the same word. It's really bad. There's also a theme of cancel culture in here because he's like working through getting his shows taken off during the COVID, during so long. Works of art can traumatize. People here are all too silly. Can nobody take a joke? Andrew, you are not edgy, my man. Yeah.
So that lyric is about the fact that Cinderella this is the crux of the show. Cinderella vandalized the memorial statue of her supposed best friend's dead brother, and then that lost them the Beautiful City Award, and so the tourism that her city's economy relies on is going to not happen anymore.
Maybe
I have one more lyric for you. My options look as good to me as tooth decay, and she isn't here. Meanwhile, bimbos are beckoning, and she has yet to appear. As I evade this hit parade of imbeciles, one thing is clear. She's not here.
Yeah, that really cool look for your prince to be like, ugh, all these fucking sluts are coming on to me. Ugh, I'm the Prince Charming, and you know what I hate more than the fact that my brother's dead is women.
I wish bimbos would beckon me.
Yeah, damn.
That'd be great.
Come on. Leyla, why doesn't this musical work?
No one has any motivation. The lyrics are dog shit. And it's just like a 2002 understanding of beauty standards. And I actually... So I kind of went on a little tirade in my notes trying to answer this very question of like, how do you fix... Is there a version of this that works? And unfortunately, yes, but it cannot be written by British Tory House of Lords Andrew Lloyd Weber, because if Andrew Lloyd Weber wanted to tell a competent version of this story, unfortunately, he did walk ass backwards into gender performance. The problem with this town isn't that everyone's sexy hot doing surgery. The problem with this town is that everyone is sexy hot doing surgery to adhere to rigid standards of gender performance and beauty standards as dictated by that gender performance. And you see this, he like stumbles ass backwards into it because all the critiques of Cinderella aren't that she's ugly, like gross most of the time. It's that she's ugly, unfeminine. All the critiques of Prince Sebastian, the younger brother of Prince Charming, who is the prince in this scenario, aren't critiques of him that he's ugly, like gross, but that he's ugly, unmanly. And this is proven by the fact that he's always surrounded by hunks who are like shirtless and horny. And when his brother shows up, who everyone loved, he is hunkified. He looks like a hunk. This is a musical about gender if it wanted to be good, but it doesn't, so it's a weird Republican's outdated idea of what female empowerment looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can say anything that tops that. Yeah, it is just... Stephen King has this problem too, where like you get so big at some point where you think you don't need an editor, and you won't take criticism on your work, and I think that's just what happened here. Andrew was born during COVID, and he's like, I'm Andrew freaking Lloyd Webber. I'm gonna write the greatest musical talking about the things that matter in our time, but I'm gonna put a gay guy in there, and that's gonna make it appeal to young people. And it's like,
as the punchline, yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like, it's I guess I've seen racist musicals, right? There's definitely racist musicals. South Pacific, right? Famously racist. It's not Oliver, although Oliver is dog shit. Ragtime, pretty racist. But in terms of just straight up quality of music and lyricism, I don't know. This one, it's hard to find a worse. It's hard to find a worse musical. This is really low.
I don't know. I think that stopping in the middle of your ballroom scene to have this exchange between, I think, one of the stepsisters and the prince, when she says, I also have crippling daddy issues. And he says, is that good? And she says, for you it is. I think that's feminism.
Like, what is this? Who is this for? Right? What do you mean daddy issues? What year is it? Like, what? That's a joke that would fit in, a 2004 production. And even the fucking Disney folks didn't, had the tact to not, to do that. Like, what's the goal here, right? It's so aimless, right? From the protagonists not having any motivation, to the lyrics and the songs ambling quality, to the fact that like this movie this production just sort of ends, right? We have Deus Ex Hunkema, and the prince shows up and fucks his sexy fiance, and then
which
Prince
he
Sebastian's
is very
like,
fine.
Yeah, he's a good looking guy. And then the Prince Sebastian's just like, well, can I hang out with you now, Cinderella? And she's like, okay. And then it just sort of ends. It just peters out.
So if we reference the charts, I again charted all the Cinderellas on whether or not they fight or they fully surrender, if they're ignorant or naive. Everyone is like north of, like, there's some surrendering in the animated 1950 and the Brandy, like those two Cinderellas don't really fight to get out of their circumstances once they're locked in the tower. But everyone is on the naive end, right? They're just naive. They're not. Carrie Hope Fletcher's Cinderella, and again, she is doing everything she can with the most dog shit book in recent memory. Carrie Hope Fletcher's Cinderella is both violently ignorant and fully surrenders for no fucking reason. Because one of her evil stepsisters is like, well, you could go stop the wedding. Like, you don't have to watch him marry somebody he doesn't love. Who, by the way, Sebastian marries somebody with the other wicked stepsister because she once again forcibly kisses him, so it's an assault. What year is it? In a story about female whatever. I'm not complaining about the depiction of assault. I'm complaining about the context in which it's depicted and the purpose which it has as a narrative device in this story. She just goes, oh, well, I can't make it to the wedding. Guess I'm gonna go travel the world. Like, full surrender. You were just singing about how much you love this guy who, before that, he tried to sympathize with you and you told him he didn't have any problems because you were rich. And then before that, you defaced the memorial statue of his brother, but then you're also best friends?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So Carrie Hope Fletcher's Cinderella is a fucking mess. She's completely unsympathetic, annoying, and inconsistent. That's, again, not Carrie Hope Fletcher's fault. She's doing her best. Is she offered agency by the evil godmother?
I mean,
she is kind of. The fairy godmother, as you mentioned, is a surgeon. But they don't commit to the surgery bit. They specifically have her wheeled around a scalpel, and then in the middle of the song, she goes, nah, maybe next time.
Yeah, that's another good point. Like, there's no... there is, like, lip service paid to the idea that, like, the magic will expire at midnight, but it doesn't... it doesn't really matter, right? She leaves before the timer comes out. Like, that's kind of a critical part of the myth.
They didn't even try to make it work. That being said, Fairy Godmother song, best song of the show. Bar's
yeah,
low.
It is. But yes, the bar is low. It's so rough.
The bar,
it's bad.
The bar is so low that twice during the show I had the distinct thought of, oh my god, please don't start singing. Which is bad in a musical.
Yeah, I mean, truly, my favorite part of the musical was the dance sequence because I didn't have to hear anyone's shit-ass lyrics.
The evil stepmother is having fun. That's great. Her smoky... She knows what show she's in. Hamming it up. Stepsisters, for the fact that they are completely terribly written, they are having fun. Fairy Godmother, for some reason, is scary. That's a new one. Prince is a flawed person, but man, the speed from which Sebastian goes from like, hey, this is my best friend Cinderella, supposedly, to, again, misogynist calling women bimbos. Andrew Lloyd Weber, you have a terrible opinion of men.
The way that he
it's
writes,
just bananas.
The way that he writes the hunks in this movie, I wrote in my notes, I was like, is Andrew Lloyd Webber gay? Because he's writing men the way that, like, he's writing straight men the way that I feel like queer men who don't... that's the thing. Queer men know what straight men are like. That's kind of part of being a queer man. So, like, I don't know what... Has Andrew Lloyd Webber never hung out with men before? Like, has he never been a dude?
He is writing men based on how he thinks straight women think about men, but look at the rest of the show to see how he thinks straight women act.
Right. It's bad. It's real bad.
It's a bleak fucking worldview. The meet cute happens before the ball. Obviously, they're childhood friends for some godforsaken reason. There is no Grand Duke.
I guess we can be grateful for that.
Does Cinderella have friends? Well, yeah, Sebastian. I guess he's supposed to be her friend. But as I pointed out, is he?
Not really. It's not. He unties her from a tree/witch's pyre at some point, but that's about it. The rest of the musical, they kind of spend sniping at each other.
The whole point of Cinderella having animal friends is to show that despite the fact that someone has power over her and is cruel to her, she is not cruel to the creatures she has power over. So why do you have her friends with a guy and they clearly fucking hate each other but also supposedly want to fuck? Why is every song a soliloquy? Why does she suddenly decide, oh, fuck you, now that the girls are going to the ball, I'm going to go seek out the fairy godmother and then tell her I want to be the hottest person on earth, while telling her, I earlier said that I had the highest IQ, but I don't know that Helen of Troy was mortal?
That was... yeah, it's bonkers. It's bonkers to make this choice. I don't...
It's such... I think that's where I'm going to stick my opinion of this. It is just a very vivid description of one man's incredibly bleak worldview. It is not fun to watch.
Yep, do not recommend. Watch literally any of the other four that we talked about, because that was a tough one. It was unpleasant. But yeah, I mean, to round it up, as we are trying to move our podcast in a more analytical, less summary based and more like trying to pick apart what makes adaptations or media work. What do we think we could pull from this project? Have we gained any insights from watching 5 Cinderellas and then picking them apart?
I think it was, at least for me, a fun exercise in looking for the common thread in these adaptations and like what did these 5 very different creative teams think it was important to have an opinion on. I thought that was really fun, and then just like seeing the performances and seeing what they did with all those things. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it is useful to I think this is kind of a 101 level exercise in taking it and doing media analysis and being like, okay, compare and contrast, right? What are these 5 works doing? But at the same time, it does make me think about how different types of media, the difference between a movie versus a a movie that's been, adapted for TV versus a musical, right? It makes me think about how those media necessarily have limitations and changes, and how those are, either to their benefit or weakness. And yeah, I think it does kind of show that there are common threads, right? Those common threads they do matter, right? Because if you change anything too much, like we saw in Bad Cinderella, it doesn't work. But like if you can change a lot, right? As in the 2004 Cinderella, a lot of that's different, but it still keeps kind of the heart and main thrust of what makes that myth work in a way that like kind of gets to the point of why you would do an adaptation, to be like, okay, if you can do a lot of changes, but as long as you kind of stick to the main core principles of why that story resonates with people, you can fuck it up. Parentheses positive.
Yeah, I think Bad Cinderella, the reason that it didn't matter what choices they really made and that because they didn't land was because Andrew Lloyd Weber and his creative team were trying to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, because they didn't take time to understand the Cinderella fairy tale. They just saw it in their very, like, I don't know, animal brains as a story that is representative of an outdated worldview. But as we saw, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be representative of an outdated worldview. It can be like a fun, story about empowerment, or it can be just a fun romance. It can be all those things. But they were like, ooh, we want to make a musical that's edgy. Let's take Cinderella, which is a story about love for girls, and girls don't want that anymore. Girls want feminism, and they want to be edgy. Let's just invert all the choices or subvert all the choices without thinking about what all the choices do structurally, and put that on stage, I guess. And you get a pretty fucking bad musical out of it. Meanwhile, you have a Cinderella story that is faced with these same adaptational choices that actually does something with the script. And also, like, Rhonda, again, they nerf the fairy godmother in the sense that Rhonda is like a real woman with real woman limitations, but she still finds a way to, because they understand that the function of the fairy godmother is just to give Cinderella an opportunity to go to the ball. She still fulfills that role. So, Andrew Lloyd Webber refused to understand the source material and made a pretty rough fucking piece of art. And I think, even though, like you said, it's kind of 101 analysis, well, I'll give us credit. Let's say 201. All right, we're at least sophomore analysis.
Sure.
But I do think it's still, like, nice to go back to our roots every once in a while and kind of, like, do a run through like this, especially right before we do a little format adjustment. It was just fun. It was fun. 4 of the 5 things we watched were a lot of fun.
Yeah. I would say mostly worthwhile, mostly not psychic torture, which I think is really important in these trying times. So yeah, Leyla, do we want to talk about? I think we've teased it before, but like, how do we think we're going to change the format of the show going forward?
We are going to try to do less summary, more analysis, and we are also going to focus more on, like, series of episodes rather than individual episodes. So I believe we're starting the year with the Matrix movies.
Oh,
which will
yeah.
be really exciting.
Yes, I think it'll be great. I think you'll have a great time with most of the Matrices.
Yes. And this was just the reason for this change is just we're growing as critics. And at one point, Aaron just pinged me and he was like, I have an idea. And I said, this is a great idea. Let's execute. Yeah. So now here we are.
Yep. So you'll see some changes to the format of the show in 2026, but I hope that it'll be for the better. And I look forward to it because I think season 7 of Mortified will be our best one yet. So keep your eyes out for that.
Bananas.
It's pretty weird.
Season 7 is good. If you like our show, please, tell your friends about it. There's like one person on Tumblr who pretty dedicatedly reblogs their stuff and like leaves us comments, and it makes us feel good. Shout outs. Thank you so much. Comment on our YouTube stuff. We're not looking to like make money off this thing, but if we could hit someday 50 listeners, I think that'd be pretty sick.
That would be huge. So,
all right, you want to take us out?
Yeah, Leyla, where can we be found on the internet?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Blue Sky and on Tumblr. I'm still working on YouTube stuff. I need to do some research on Yevon, and then I will have a video on Final Fantasy X up on my channel, which will be Holy Cow Games. And I'm also about to start playing Expedition 33 shortly after we hang up this call, which I'm sure will eat my brain in a fun way. What about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at AA Voigt, Tumblr at Monster Factory Fanfic, and youtube.com/@AA Voigt, where I talk about tabletop games. Ideally, the week after this episode goes out, my big hour-and-a-half video on the last 15 years of the indie RPG scene will be out. I worked really, really hard on that one, so please give that a like if you're interested in tabletop games. So check that out. But our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how shall we say goodbye to our 200th episode?
Well, Aaron, now that you're old enough, I think it's time we had this talk. You're not very pretty and you're not very bright. I'm so glad we had this talk.
We'll see you all.